Hello and welcome to the Nerd Stream. I got my trusty whiskey. We got a video to watch. I'm gonna try and watch it. If I can pull it up and figure out how to load it up, I will play parts of it, and we'll go from there. Share. That is how we do that. Okay, so let me go grab the video real quick, which is linked in the description. So if you don't get to, if you can't see it or it doesn't play or whatever, you can find it there. So in this episode of the Nerd Stream, episode 1, season 1, I want to welcome all y'all to the stream, the first ever Nerd Stream on this channel. I really think you're gonna enjoy it. Should be fun. Go to my library. No, where to go? Oh, nope, history. Okay. Apparently, it's not here. Hold on. I know. This was well thought out and ready to go. Okay, now I can copy the link, and video file. And let's see if this works. Oh, I may have to, man, it may not let me do it that way. Don't be dumb. Okay. Yeah, okay. Never mind, it's not going to work that way. And I don't think audio works that way. Okay, so I guess we're just not going to do it that way. Well, anyway, so in the video linked below, why blowing planets up is pointless. The gentleman in the video believes that the Death Star is pointless and that you can just turbo laser a planet into submission. And that disregards the process of actually taking and holding a planet. Suppose you did turbo laser a planet. Let's say that you bombed a city or bombed several cities. We're gonna do some research here. Looking for love in all the rand places. So, looking at the population I just need a rough population of 2 billion. So, a 2 billion strong population at the time of its explosion. The idea that a turbo laser bombardment would be enough to neutralize a single planet on the surface may make sense. When you have one planet that you're trying to take over and hold, and we'll get into why the Death Star is such a practical vehicle in the grand scheme of the Empire, in a minute, and we need a little bit. So, and one other thing, I need the crew. The idea that let's structure the base. It's 3. Well, okay. So that didn't answer that question. So Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. So, keeping that open. Oh yeah, whatever. We'll look at Super Star Destroyer cruise. Okay. Okay, so a Super Star Destroyer, which is the largest Star Destroyer in the original, and I think they actually didn't come out until after the Battle of uh, after the Battle of Yavin. Yes, this was all well thought out in my mind, and I wanted to make sure I got my numbers right because I wanted to. Um, okay, so the Super. Okay, cool, good deal. The Super Star Destroyer actually was launched at the conclusion of the Galactic Civil War, the Clone Wars, better known as the Clone Wars, with a crew of just under 280,000, whereas the Death Star has a crew of just over 1.7 million personnel, with up to 400,000 droids being stationed on it. And so the idea, so let's take Alderaan, because Alderaan was the first planet destroyed by the Empire with the Death Star. And we noting that that Han Solo makes the comment after they arrive at the wreck of the Alderaan. It would take 1,000 ships with more firepower than he's ever seen to be able to do what the Death Star did in terms of leveling a planet. It's the same concept of super weapons in modern life, and I left a comment on the video, which is linked down below. So if you think I'm taking him out of context, or you want the full context of his video, by all means, feel free to check it out. The idea to me about the practicality of the Death Star. The Death Star is approximately 4 or 5 Super Star Destroyers all rolled into one, with the ability to keep and store the consumables on a single Star Destroyer are 6 years. So, and then if we do this, we go to the Death Star. And let the page load. We can see, and hopefully it will. 50,000 turbo lasers, 50,000 heavy turbo lasers, 25,000 can. It has a consumables of 3 years, but it also has more. Okay, that's not that's Death Star 3. I really would write the original Death Star. Because the original, and that's Death Star 2. God, I hate ads on the internet. They make things difficult. Jesus. It's just massive. Now, if I could get back to Death Star 1, that would be first Death Star. Let's try that. See if this link works better. Mobile battle station. Ah, whiskey. Goes down smooth. Okay, here we go. This is the original Death Star, the very first Death Star. 70,000 TIE fighters, personnel, over almost 5,000, over 300,000 troopers, 25,000 stormtroopers. I'm just reading up on the Death Star so that I can make sure I can get my information correct before I turn my attention back to the video. But now I know that I can download videos and watch them here, so that'll help. And we may revisit this topic at a later date. So looking back at what I said, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my comment real quick. Hopefully, I can find it. There were a couple thousand comments, so hopefully, I can find it. We shall see. History. I don't know why it's not appearing in my history, but okie dokie. So maybe it's because I haven't actually watched the video. Pause. Now, this video came out about a year ago. And I'm scrolling through the comments, scrolling through. I wish there was an easier way to scroll and find comments so that I could actually just read my comment. All these are like from a couple weeks ago. And like I said, there's over 6,000 comments, so it may take me a minute to find it. And it wasn't liked by anyone, so I can't go back and just sort by newest first. Haha. A couple days ago, looking for. It was about a week ago. Aha, found it. Okay. It took me a minute, and I had to, but I found it, so. And it's a rather lengthy comment. So, and I'm just going to read what I said. The Death Star was the natural evolution of the Empire's galactic reach, like making a bigger and badder battleship, but arming it with nukes. Death Star 1 and 2 are the first nuclear deterrents, in a way. The idea that you could just show up at someone's door, and instead of having to spend days, weeks, months, or years to put down rebellions, having to commit hundreds of thousands of troops, they have to be fed, clothed, trained, armed, and have either be recruited, drafted, or enslaved. You can just instead not only burn the house down, but blast the whole damn thing to hell. You might think, hey, you can just turbo laser them from space, and sure, you can do that with 10, 20, 30 planets, but eventually people will get wise and build bunkers that can withstand turbo lasers. And then you have to commit troops to taking and holding planets anyway. With a Death Star, you can just blow up a whole planet, and there's no defense for that. So the natural evolution of the Death Star would be the tactical Death Star, and we'll get into that later as we explore this topic. A weapon that can be deployed at any time and anywhere in mass numbers, a true nuclear deterrent, especially after losing the first two Death Stars. If a planet-sized base that you can only build one of at a time has been shown to be vulnerable, you would want a lot of easily movable nukes that can be set up in minutes or hours. And yes, that was clunky, and I misspelled a whole bunch of junk in that comment, which I will probably go back and edit later. The idea to me, and expanding upon that theme, is that the Death Star is, and you're also asking the Empire to be rational actors. Because in his video, and again, it's linked in the description, so you can go watch it and leave your own comments. The idea is that the Empire are acting rationally, and also that they would have not taken the fact that the potential resources that Alderaan may have possessed into account. Is something a comment that he made in his video, that the Imperial strategists hadn't thought of that. Like somehow they just decided that they were gonna blow up the planet because, well, shits and giggles. That the Imperials had no tactical advantage to just ending Alderaan. Again, let's say you turbo laser the planet. And let's say when a population of 2 billion, let's say you get 20%, right? 10% would be 200 million, so 20% would be 400 million, right? So that leaves a population in excess of 1.6 billion beings on the planet. Now, and how effective can a turbo laser bombardment be? Can it be 10%, 20%, 50%? Is it 100% effective? Well, the Death Star has been shown to be 100% effective at eliminating a threat. The idea of the Death Star was to put down rebellions before they even got started. See, the rebellion was underway by the time Alderaan is struck. It's not like it's not like the rebellion was the first rebellion that the Empire had ever had to deal with. The idea was that they could end the rebellion in one fell swoop. So they wipe out Alderaan, right? With me? So they wipe out Alderaan, and what ends up happening is that Alderaan is destroyed, and by destroying Alderaan, you might think that they galvanized the rebellion. My argument, and I would argue that the what actually galvanized the rebellion and actually allowed the rebellion to flourish was the destruction of the Death Star itself. See, had Luke, and we're gonna get into how the Death Star was destroyed in the exhaust port and its seemingly vulnerability. But if you look at the Death Star and the complement of weapons that it had, you're looking at 12,000 heavy turbo lasers, 15,000 light turbo laser batteries, super 10,000 super laser cannons, 10,000 light ion cannons, 20,000 concussion missile sites or launchers, 50,000 twin mounted turbo heavy lasers, 50,000 quad laser cannons, and 1,000 heavy turbo tractor projectors, if I'm understanding this right. And of course, its main gun, the MK1 super laser. So what you're looking at, and if we go back to the Imperial class, professional stream and all that, the Executor class Super Star Destroyer, because that was what he in his super capital ship. So we're going to look at the armament. 20,000 turbo laser cannons, 20,000 heavy cannons, 25,000 concussion missile tubes, 250 heavy ion cannons, 40 Python support tractor beam projectors, and 500 point laser defense cannons. 800 starfighters, 40 AT-ATs, 40 AT-STs, 200 various assault vehicles and support craft, and a crew of 279,000 plus. A 250 metric tons and 300 supplies for support or supplies for 300,000 individuals. See, I'm a good talker and I know what I'm talking about. But if you look at and of course we don't have a price sticker for a Imperial super Star Destroyer. Now, if we go back to the original Death Star, which that's actually just the write-up on the cannon. And we go back and we look, you're looking at 10 times the number of starfighters, more than like 1,000 times more AT-ATs. Of course, a million more personnel. Several 100,000 more passengers. You know, and a consumables of 4 standard years. But you're getting 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50,000 times in output. Okay, over 1 trillion galactic credits. Let's see. So yes, you're not going to be able to make a lot of them, and understandably. But let's see if this says I can actually find a class 2 shielding hull. I can't find a price tag on the executor class. Anyway, regardless, so the idea to me is to be able the ability to intimidate an entire star system with one ship. We've seen the executor class ships being taken down and relatively easily. So in the Battle of Yavin, the Death Star has itself and its TIE fighters are its defense, led by Vader himself. Excuse me. Again, professional stream. So the idea is that you have a super, even a superstar destroyer, like the Executor class, or even the Imperial class or Infinity class superstar destroyer, which has an even smaller complement of starfighters. Well, actually, I'm sorry. The Infinity class is smaller. I'm sorry. I would assume that Infinity was bigger, but my bad. I don't know what I'm talking about. Apparently, obviously. Then that's why we. That's why we do research, right? So that being said, with that, keeping that in mind, again, I want to go back. I want to talk about turbo lasering a planet, which has been done. It's canon, so I'm not going to argue that it can't be. I'm not arguing that it can't be done. My argument is that it's not necessarily the most effective strategy to stop a rebellion. And so now let's get into Luke Skywalker destroying the Death Star. At the end of the film, we see Luke and his crew getting decimated by the Death Star. The rebellion loses dozens of pilots in a desperation, a Hail Mary. It's a last ditch effort to stop the Galactic Empire, the Imperials. In this movie, what you see, obviously, we've seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie yet, spoiler alert! If you haven't seen the movie, it's been out for 40 fucking years. So see the movie. You have a you have this battle station. It's the biggest, baddest, most mean piece of equipment the Empire has on offer at the time. It has a weakness. Every ship has a weakness. There's no getting around it. There's an old saying in the Navy: throw up enough flak and something will hit it. If you throw up enough flak, no matter how awesome your shielding is, or your armor is, even a 1022, if you shot a 100 round, 1,000 rounds, 10,000 rounds, eventually you would crack steel with it. Just a death by 1,000 cuts. So obviously the Death Star was going to have some kind of weakness, and it's not plot convenience, and it's not luck. It's good writing, honestly. It's Luke growing as a character. His willingness to give into his abilities, to let the Force take over. It's the guidance of Obi-Wan. It's not luck that Han just happens to show up at his time of need. It's growth of the character. It's Han for the first time in the movie, and if not in his life, thinking of someone other than himself. It's the fact that he lives in the galaxy, and that he's already on the run from the Hutts. He's a wanted criminal by the Empire. If the rebellion doesn't succeed, he's gonna be on the run, and he's gonna get caught at some point anyway. So Han decides to make the sacrifice play. He goes back. He goes back to try and save Luke. He goes back to try and save the rebellion and keep the rebellion going. Why does he do that? Because he's growing as a character. He's thinking about someone other than himself for the first time in his life. And that's what made the first movie so good, is the fact that the characters grow in the movie. Luke, the character we meet at the beginning of the movie, is a whiny, selfish brat who wants to do his own thing. He dreams of adventure. He dreams of the stars. He doesn't want to be stuck in the backwater that is Tatooine. He's like any farm boy in Iowa who dreams of life in the big city. He dreams of being a fighter pilot or an astronaut or a race car driver or a superstar athlete. He wants adventure. He wants something more. Or even a more modern example, a YouTube star. He is what we all yearn to be. He is what we all grew up wanting to be. He's why we resonate, why he's crossed so many 4 generations now have looked up to Luke Skywalker and said, yeah, I want to be that. Maybe you want to be Han Solo. Maybe you were introduced to Star Wars maybe a little bit older in your life. Maybe you were in your 30s or late 30s, 40s, 50s. Maybe you took your kids to see Star Wars back in the 70s. You identified with Han. And you were like, I want to be Han. I want to be that rebel, world weary, as they say in the Star Wars documentary, Empire of Dreams. It's a great documentary, by the way. We may cover it on this show at some point as well. Empire of Dreams really helped to flush out a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Sorry, my earbud is bothering my ear for some reason. Figure that one out. So we're gonna do a little switcheroo here and see if that helps. And that is substantially better. So in Empire of Dreams, he's world weary. He's been through a lot, as you can tell, and that's one of the great things about the movie. And I know I said I was going to talk about the video, and I did, and my thoughts on it. I also want to get into delve into some of the plot of the movie and the exploration of character and character development that makes the movie so great. Han Solo is an everyman. Everyone can see a little bit of Han Solo in themselves. They making the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. It's a clunky bit of dialogue when you know what a parsec is. It's kind of like saying I went to grandma's house. Instead of saying I did it in 4 hours instead of the typical 5, I did it in 125 miles instead of the typical 200, something along those lines. I made the run. I made it to grandma's house in 125 miles. Which on the surface may seem ridiculous. But when you know that a parsec is a unit of measurement instead of a unit of time, and you understand that, you did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, which is a unit of distance, not a unit of time, which, it's clunky and it's a little bit weird and, it's goofy sci-fi bullshit. And, it's part of suspending your disbelief. You can buy the character. It's not an unreasonable character moment, right? Clunky it may be, and, hey, oh, well, that was just silly. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, I went to grandma's. I got to grandma's house in 120 miles. Think about it like a pilot. You could, or maybe a sailor, a pilot, sailor, any kind of traveler. There might be a more, a safer route to go to a certain destination. Let's say Alexandria to Cairo. There might be a safer route to take, but it could be long. Let's say it's 300 miles over well-paved roads, but it's 150 out through the desert, and it's riskier to go through the desert than it is to go take the paved roads. So you might say, yeah, I made it to Cairo in 150 miles, as opposed to saying, because the route is because it's more of a distance measurement as opposed to a time measurement. It might take 8 hours to drive the roads, but it'll only take 4 hours. You cut off 4 hours by going over the desert, but it's a much more risky journey. And so, and also Han is trying to impress Obi-Wan and Luke in that particular scene in the movie, because he's trying to get hired. They're offering him, I believe it was 15,000 credits. If I am not mistaken, we can do the little. How many did Obi offer? 17,000. I was close. 17,000 credits to take Obi-Wan, Anakin, and the droids, or Luke. I wanted to call him Anakin. Ugh, forgive my prequel brain. To take Luke to Alderaan. Not an insubstantial sum of money for a smuggler and a pirate. What you see is that Luke and Han are forming a bond through adventure, having to, as much as any coworkers might form a bond, they meet through circumstance. It's not unreasonable that Han and Luke and Obi-Wan all end up on Tatooine, because there's story reasons why they all end up there. Han is trying to pay off the Hutts. He lost the spices when he had to eject them into space because he was being raided by the Imperials and he was carrying illegal goods, and he's flying the Millennium Falcon, as Luke calls it, a piece of junk, or something very similar to that. I believe his exact words, "It's a piece of junk." And I believe that was when Han retorted it made the Kessel run in 12 parsecs. Because a parsec being a unit of measurement, not a unit of time, which we've already established. Which I've gone far afield from the video that I was originally talking about. Again, like I said, and to reiterate and belabor the point again, which I will be doing in this series, I could probably call this series "Belaboring the Point." That might be a good title for it. Which is in fact what we're going to be calling it. As long as I spell it right. B. Okay, I'll have to change the title of the show later. When I'm not actually streaming. Apparently you can't change the name while you're streaming, so figures. Let me try again. I think you can. B. Okay. Apparently you can't. Oh well. That's good to know. So expect that change when the stream goes, when I finish the stream, when I end the stream. When I end the broadcast, as it were. I know you've been with me for a while, and I still have stuff to say. I've thought about this for the last week. And there's a lot. Again, I don't think I made, the point I'm trying to make about turbo lasering a planet is the idea that bombing a planet can be effective. Sure, it can. It can be incredibly effective, but it also can be strategically, in the long run, a waste of time and resources. For want of a real world example, I take you back to Vietnam. There were thousands of tons, hundreds of thousands of tons of ordnance dropped on Vietnam. I believe in one single bombing run, there was more ordnance dropped on Vietnam than there was in the entirety of the 5 years or 6 years of the Second World War. In a single bombing run, there was more ordnance dropped on Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia than was released in the entirety of World War Two. Excuse me, World War Two. Outside of the use of the nuclear weapons against Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and think about that for a second, and how effective that was. The Vietnamese were inflicted with casualty rates of over 900,000, 960 depending on certain reports and some change. Well, the Americans lost just over 60,000, or just under 60,000, 58 and some change. And who won the war? The Vietnamese won the war. They won the overall encompassing battle that was the Vietnam War. The U.S. was not defeated militarily. We did not suffer catastrophic losses in terms of a military conflict. 60,000 to nearly 1,000,000. Those are really terrible numbers, but they're also in terms of your numbers, our numbers, and their versus their numbers are incredible. A kill rate of well over 100 to 1, 200 to 1, 300 to 1. You could do the math because I've already tried and it hurt my brain. Well over 100 to 1, like 150 to 1 at least, give or take. And I'll let somebody else do the math in the comment section. And yet, the Americans still lost the war. Not because of ineffectiveness of our weapons or our personnel, but because of political wranglings. And again, you're asking the empire, the Galactic Empire, modeled after empires throughout history, Rome, Greece, Italy, the Vatican, the Holy Roman Empire, France, and Great Britain, Napoleonic France. You're asking an evil dictator, the baddest bad guy who's ever been bad in the history of the galaxy, to act rationally, to think about resources. It's not about it's exactly what the Joker said. It's not about the money. Yes, of course, you could turbo laser and send in hundreds of thousands of troops, and the Executor class Star Destroyer had a complement of 30,000 troops, or 38,000 troops, whereas the Death Star was able to have 25,000 stormtroopers alone. Let me do this. Let's see if this works. Oops, it would help if I spelled things right. Yeah. 600,000 troops, 30,000 stormtroopers, 24,000 support staff, or 42,000 support staff, 180,000 pilots. The Death Star is dozens of Star Destroyers. Super Star Destroyers, in fact. We're not just talking about Star Destroyers, we're talking about Super Star Destroyers. Huge, massive, gargantuan ships that, or one super huge, gargantuan ship that is capable of doing incredible damage. Let's see. Super Star Destroyer cost. See, I don't want a real world estimate because that would be silly. I'm not worried about in 14.5 billion credits. So for 1 trillion credits, you can have a ship the size of the Death Star with the complement of troops and crew. A crew that's on the same level as any superstar destroyer. So you have 179,000 crew. So the Death Star is crewed by fewer men, which means you can have, having 10 times the crew, 10 times not quite 10 times. I'm sorry, I was totally off. 350 times the number of gunners. A smaller crew, 350 times the number of gunners. 15 times the number of troopers. 5,000 more stormtroopers. An entire and a support staff. A support staff that was huge. Yes, a single. Let me see if I can do the math real quick. 1 trillion divided by. So you can get, for the cost of 68 superstar destroyers, you can build 1 Death Star, right? And you might think that but the Death Star also has so much going for it compared to. Close that. Step. It has so much going for it, though. Yes, it might take. Yes, you might be able to. You get. Again, more math because this is a nerd stream, so we're doing math. It's probably going to break my calculator. So bear with me. That's 18 million personnel, right? To crew just crew 18 million crew members. So that's everybody from the lowest cook to the highest ranking officer. That's 18 million personnel, right? And then another 108,000 gunners, right, to man all of the weapons. So if you think about that, that's what would be the 1 Death Star cost the same as a 68 superstar destroyers, right? So that means that, and if you have 1 Death Star, which is capable of going anywhere, how many Obviously, the Galactic Empire stretched across the galaxy. And we'll see. Hopefully, Wikipedia will have an answer, at least something in the ballpark. Ah, I'm sorry for the dead air. I do apologize for the dead air as I try to hundreds of systems. It's not like you can, 68 superstar destroyers are not enough to. Sorry, again, I apologize for the dead air. That's really professional. But again, it goes back to what I was saying about the Death Star is a nuclear deterrent. Um, Again, even if you had 68 superstar destroyers, fully staffed, fully crewed, the unit cost of one Imperial or Death Star is the same unit cost of 68 superstar destroyers. It's like why build 10 aircraft carriers when you can build 10 super aircraft carriers? Very large aircraft carrier. Uh, with an aircraft carrier, and unfortunately, the definition of an air, there's no real definition of the difference between. Let me try that. What is the I am dumb. I am really bad at this. You know, eh, so if you look at a supercarrier, right? The HMS Queen Elizabeth and the US Nimitz, the two largest carriers in the world right now, um, uh, is $1 billion. Well, the HMS, huh, how about that? The uh, the Queen Elizabeth is actually more expensive than the um the Nimitz. It may be newer too. Yeah, well, it is like 30 years newer, so no, I don't know if that was yeah, it's a billion. Back in 75 it cost $1 billion. Let me try newest US aircraft carrier. So about $16 billion. Okay, so in money, an estimated cost, the newest US ship, the most recent, biggest, baddest US carrier, the the Gerald R. Ford has a cost of $12 billion. Well, the considerably smaller USS or HMS Queen uh, Elizabeth has a cost of just over $3 billion. Is well, having been ordered only a few months prior and actually being laid down and launched later than the Ford itself. Uh, well, having but also acquired earlier, and having been commissioned around the same time as the Ford. Smaller, but smaller and cheaper. But when you can build, when you have to build two of them, again, it's a 68. You have to build 68 superstar destroyers to equal the crewing capacity and weapons capacity and abilities of one Death Star with a unit cost of, and of course, how often does that do those how often is it going to spiral out of control when you have a ship like a when you're building a ship like a superstar destroyer? How quickly does it go into 20 billion or 30 billion credits? Let's just say that on average it's 20. Let's say they average out to 22 billion. So if we take 100, we take $1 trillion. I think that's it. Divide it by 22. You end up with 45 units available. And you think because you're assuming cost going up and fluctuating and cost overruns and whatnot. So for the same prices as one Death Star, considering the Death Star to be in the margin of error, the Superstar Destroyer, you're going to get anywhere from 45 to 68 Superstar Destroyers. And you have thousands, if not hundreds, of planets that have, you have thousands, if not tens of thousands of planets that have to be monitored and controlled. And again, when it comes to bombing a stupid Coke, when you have to commit resources to doing invasions and control and conquest. You have to commit resources, and how many resources can you spare to take over a planet? And how long is it gonna take to be able to reap the rewards of taking over a planet? Right? Look, is it gonna be we're talking about hours, days, weeks, months, years? Is it going to be worth it to even bother with trying to take over a planet? Because when you have a planet that you're trying to take over, you have to contend with the locals. You have to contend with outside forces. Let's say instead of just blowing up Alderaan, let's say the Imperial government decides to blockade Alderaan, kind of like Naboo in the prequels. Obviously things that we hadn't seen in the first movies came out, but let's assume that obviously in the galaxy they knew about it. So let's say they tried to do a blockade. The blockade of Naboo was rather ineffective. Of course, the Jedi got involved, and there was that. But when you've establishing the fact that blockades can be ineffective, and that having to commit resources to taking a planet, you're not talking about taking a Hoth, right? Hoth was a small outpost in the middle of nowhere, right? It's easy to take, it doesn't seem like it took the Empire all that much resources, expending that many resources, 2 walkers, a couple thousand troops, and Darth Vader to take over Hoth. But they weren't contending with tens of thousands of, if not hundreds of millions of potentially hostile forces. To think about the fact that Alderaan was a directly hostile to the Empire. It would be helpful if I could speak English, but we all know that that's not going to happen anytime soon. The Empire, in words and junk, not wanting to commit those resources because then you draw in you draw support to the cause. When you put down a rebellion like that, let's look at the American Revolution, or a rebellion, and a successful rebellion, and one that I'm fairly familiar with. What they had to do, they established a country, right? And you can look at all rebellions and successful defenses. You have an established country with a home base repelling foreign invaders. That's exactly what the Empire would be. They would be attacking Alderaan on its home turf, which would draw other systems into the conflict. Systems that may have been internally hostile to the Empire, but outwardly supportive of the Empire. Again, I apologize for the long pauses while I gather my thoughts. The Empire of the Galactic Empire. Those were the words I was looking for. The Galactic Empire does not want a protracted and costly conflict after the last prolonged and costly conflict. They want to end this thing as quickly as possible. And so what ends up happening is that they can't convince Princess Leia to give up the information about the Death Star, where the plans are, who has the plans, what happened to the plans. So as a demonstration of their power and their ability to reach out and touch someone, they blow up her homeworld. It wasn't just a matter of of lost resources. It was to send a message to Princess Leia that they weren't fucking around anymore. They were done playing games. They were tired of dealing with all this shit, and they weren't gonna take it anymore. And so what ends up happening is they end up just blowing up the damn planet, which causes Princess Leia to react, which then gives them information that Dantooine is not the base of operations of the rebels. So then they are calculating their next move on where to go when Han and Luke and Chewie, the droids, and Obi-Wan all end up at the remnants of Alderaan. I'll blow them to smithereens. And as I've established already, Han makes the comment, I suppose offhanded, if you will, comment that that it would take 1,000 ships with more firepower than he's ever seen to accomplish that. And so if you think about 1,000 ships at $14 billion, or credits as it were, 14 and a half times 100. Oops. Oops. Come back here. That's 14 billion. Ugh. I hate that's too many zeros. Let me do it this way, because there'll be less zeros, and it'll just give me words, hopefully. 14. Point. Dun 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 dun. Sorry about that. Again, I apologize for the dead air. Okay, so you got 1.5 plus 13 zeros. Is that trillion? It doesn't even. It's so large that let's just do it this way. We're going to take that out and is it 1.4 trillion? Seems like that would be wrong. Hey, come here, you. 3, 9, 6. So it's more than it's not quadrillion, but it's more than trillion. All right, it's some number. It's like 20 trillion or something like that. Because it's 1.45 to the 13th power. It's a ridiculously large number. Again, I do apologize for all the dead air while I'm doing this, so just bear with me. It's such a ridiculously large number. I can't even. This is so ridiculous. So a billion, so that's 140, 1,400, 14,000, 140, 1.4 million, 140 million, 1.4 billion, 14 billion, 140 billion, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. That's the 10th zero. So that goes trillion. And that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 zeros. Then there's 10 zeros. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And that's hundreds, 100,000s. Oh. I'm sorry. I know. There's a exponent calculator. Here we go. Let's see. Maybe this will help. I don't know. This is just algebra. That's not what I want. 1.45 E plus 1, 3. And then we go down here and we look at this. That turns it into an. That's a negative number though. I want a positive number. Okay, we'll go. This is close enough. Hopefully this will work. Okay. I bet you I hit the wrong button. I bet you. Let me go back one more. No, I hit the right number. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I finally found it. 10 to the 13th power is one that's hundreds, thousands, hundred thousands. No, hundred thousands, 100 millions, 100 millions. That's, yeah, $14 trillion. Or credits, as it were. 14 trillion credits, which is 14 Death Stars, right? The idea that a Death Star. Okay, so now that we've got all the numbers worked out and not just abstract concepts, but actual physical numbers, $14 trillion, or 14 trillion credits, as it were, would be the unit cost for for the number of ships that it would take to bring to bear the firepower that it takes to destroy a planet. And again, it goes back into the fact that we know that the emperor is not a rational actor and has no qualms about genocide. Killing 2 billion innocent people was not a problem for him or his governors, or at least Grand Moff Tarkin had no qualms about destroying 2 billion lives, and even more lives than that, because those were only the lives that were lost in Alderaan, right? On the planet Alderaan itself. Obviously, those lives were extinguished, but all those people had friends and family that lived in other places and worked and did things and knew people in other places, and all those lives were affected too. And again, it goes back to crushing the spirit of the rebellion. See, the Empire was working under the established idea that the again, as I've said before during the stream, and you can go back and watch it, the Empire, the Emperor was the Empire wanted to stop the rebellion as quickly and quietly as possible. They didn't want it to get out of control. They were going to show up into Yavin, blow it all to hell, and be done with the sumbitch. There was no. The idea was that they could get everybody that was important. And Luke's superior flying skills was able to keep him out of the reach of the turbo lasers. And the trench run, and the fact that Han decided to, it's not so much that a change of heart, but he had a change of philosophy. Instead of being about Han and everything about being about him, it became about being more than just a smuggler and a pirate and a ne'er-do-well, as you were. Han was very much in it for himself. And it's very easy for Han to be to have not taken the, I guess, initiative, if you will, to the idea that all Han wants to do is make a living and go about his business and stay under the radar, be quiet, and just do what he's got to do and go home. And to act selflessly in that situation, and to think about put others first, and put other causes that weren't even his own, causes he didn't care about, aside or ahead of his own causes, and including the fact that he had gotten the money, that he already got the money. So it wasn't like he was sticking around for the money. He got the money and he was heading out. And he wasn't in it for medals or accolades. He was just doing the right thing, something that needed to be done. And the fact that he clears the path for Luke to take the shot, and Luke takes the shot, and he trusts his instincts, and he lets the Force guide him. That's the thing about the end of A New Hope that gives the movie its everything. It's what makes A New Hope so great, is that you see this hero's journey from beginning to end, and it could have, if Empire doesn't come out and then Return, and then the rest of them, you can be like, well, it had a happy ending, it had a great conclusion. The Empire is defeated, the hero survived, everybody gets to go home, everybody got a medal. It was a good ending. It was a good finale for that episode. And you can see why there wouldn't be, you can see how it could have gone either way. It could have gone in the fact that, Empire could have gone into development hell, and it could have been 10 years later, and it could have sucked. But the right people were in place to make Empire an even bigger success than A New Hope. And the fact that the Death Star 1, the defeat of Death Star 1 is what gave the galaxy hope, and the destruction, and the emergence of Luke as the face of the rebellion. And between him and Princess Leia and Han Solo, you have a superhero, an everyman, and royalty. Leaders that the people can galvanize people to fight for the cause. And it wasn't all sunshine and roses for the rebels for the next 2 movies, and the next 3 years of struggle and strife and challenges. There was a lot of stuff that went on after the events of A New Hope that lead directly into Empire and the establishment of everything that comes thereafter. It's not just about winning and losing. It's about how you play the game. So I'm gonna take the last half hour to kind of explain what obviously this stream was about Star Wars. I want to thank everyone for watching, hanging out, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing, all those things that help out the channel with the algorithms. So I'm going to be doing a nerd stream over here. I have another podcast over there on Saturday mornings. It's a sports podcast. It's called The Unscripted on my other channel. That's the Adam Mangold channel, which is affiliated with this channel, but is not a direct tie-in. I want to keep that separate for sports. So this is going to be kind of my all-encompassing nerd nonsense. So I have ideas. I'm going to do next week is going to be Fantastic Four. We're going to mock up a script for that next week. I'm hoping to get that out and apply the appropriate hashtags. And somebody call Kevin Feige because I've got a great idea. And then we may do a stream about music, movies, television, books, entertainment in general. Again, it's kind of a nerdy thing that I wanted. I was inspired by a Screen Crush video a couple weeks ago about talking about the MCU had gotten the Fox rights. And one thing I want to clarify, and I think that a lot of people don't realize it, and we'll talk about it more again next week, is the fact that Fox only bought Disney only bought 20th Century Fox. They do not have any rights to any of the sports that Fox has. So any of your regional sports has nothing to do with Disney, and Fox News has nothing to do with Disney. And any of the Rupert Murdoch controlled Fox Corporation, Fox News and Fox Business and all that has nothing, that was not part of that deal. So all Fox got was 20th Century Fox. So they got all the rights to the X-Men and Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, all that good stuff. So next week's stream will be out the Fantastic Four. It's gonna be on usually Thursday nights. If I'm not working Friday morning, it'll be on about 10:30, somewhere between 10:30 and 11. Tonight was a little bit later than I wanted to get started, but I had other things going on. Need to pour a drink, and so that is the idea of this show. Is a nerd show, nerd stream for nerds like you and me. I'm gonna be here every week from here on out, unless I got something going on. If I am busy Thursday, I will try to get the show in Friday night around the same time, 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock. It all depends on what I got going on. I have two other podcasts that I'm doing. Again, I have the sports podcast, The Unscripted. It's on Saturdays from 10 to noon every Saturday. Don't forget to check me out there. I'll link it in the description when I close this video out. That'll be linked under the video that corresponds to the topic of this video. And the name change is going to be, I actually have a name for this show. So it's the Nerd Stream, Belaboring the Point. That's the name of the show. Learn it, live it, love it, like it, and subscribe. Make sure you click the notification bell and all that good junk. This will probably be the only time I ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely want your comments. Absolutely going to read them all. I'll probably do a stream in the future, respond to your comments. I also plan on doing some food-related content, definitely Food Network shows that I'd like to see, or concepts for shows that I have. We're going to talk about anything entertainment-related. Again, movies, music, television, books, Star Wars music, anything related to that kind of thing. Jokes, comedies. Comedy is subjective, but there's a lot of great shows out there, got a great stuff out there. There's other things you can watch, so I appreciate you watching this. Yeah, looking forward to the comments. That's what I'm most excited about, is comments. So make sure to comment. Definitely gonna read all those comments from you guys. So comment. Even if you tell me I suck, that's great. I need to know. So I need to know what I'm doing wrong, what I need to do better. The dead air. I do apologize for that. All the dead air while I was looking things up and working things out. So hopefully that'll be better next week, because I'm not really gonna. Again, next week's gonna be a pitch meeting for an elevator pitch, if you will. Maybe more than an elevator pitch, because it's gonna be again another. I plan on going about hour and a half, 2 hours till I run out of steam. If I'm still going after 2 hours, cool. We're gonna go as long as we want. So that's what the deal is. And then again, I have another show. It's called The Walker Report with Bradley Walker, and that's streamed live on Facebook and then uploaded on Fridays. Over on The Walker Report, The Sports Nerd with Bradley Walker, on here on YouTube. So don't forget to check me out there if you like this and you want to see what I have to say about sports. Check me out there, and check me out on Saturday mornings on The Unscripted, which is a sports talk show that I host. I've been a nerd my whole life. As I'm gonna wind the stream down here. I got about another half hour. I'm gonna go, give or take. Just talking about some nerd stuff. Again, I think anything can be nerdy. I think any kind of entertainment, especially entertainment, sports being a different type of entertainment. I know a lot of people who like Star Wars are not sports fans. I know a lot of people are. There's a fair few of excuse me. There's a fair few of us who like both, and I of course am one of those people who likes both. I love nerd junk with all kinds of. I like action movies and comedies and dramas and but I also like tackling. I uh, I never limited myself to one form of entertainment. I like motorsports. I like boxing and football and basketball, and I like comics and anything entertaining, anything that's video games. Definitely going to be, video games are always up for debate here. Um, anything you guys want to talk about, you're more than welcome to leave a comment, and we'll get it on the air. We'll do a show about it. And not to say that every show is going to be like this, where I just ramble about one topic and go over it 1,000 times with a fine tooth comb until I think I've exhausted myself and everyone listening. Some shows are going to be, more of multiple topics where I'm going over different nerd news and stuff like that. But other things that I would like to see in upcoming, movies and I'm gonna come back to this and do another Star Wars stream here in a couple weeks because I want to rework the sequel trilogy, if we're calling it that, because I have some story treatments and some story ideas that I think would be interesting to talk about. I'll give you kind of a vague outline of because I'm reworking all three movies, so kind of throwing out the other two and starting with 7. I want to go in a different direction with 7 than they went because I think that I like the idea of Rey being of not being from not of my idea, and it's something that's a kind of a vague concept that's been in Star Wars since the beginning, is the idea of a wound in the Force. So and we'll do a full mock up of it, but just to get into it a little bit because this is what in my brain now. So the very first shot is a tracking shot, kind of like in Episode 4, and you have you zip in, right. You have a text scroll, and of course we'll work out the text scroll. It's okay. So I actually have an idea for the text scroll. So it says, since the fall of the Empire, the galaxy has been in turmoil. With the fall of the galaxy, the with the fall of the Empire, the galaxy was tossed in the turmoil. But through the combined efforts of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Prin, Princess Leia, and within captions or in oh shit, what do you call those things? Parentheses, general. So you see, I want to establish Princess Leia as a commander early because she was never really a military leader in the original trilogy. With their combined efforts, they brought. I want to flip that line that Anakin has: peace, security. I have it here somewhere. I was just looking at it the other day to make a funny comment. Peace. And it closed out on me, so peace. Security. It would help if I could spell. Yes. Okay, so this is what I would say. Again, I apologize for the damn uh um dead air as I look things up. So you know how Anakin at the in the at the end of at the epic conclusion of uh Revenge of the Sith, he goes, Anakin to Obi-Wan goes, I have brought peace, security. I have brought peace, freedom, security, and just reread that. I have brought peace, freedom, justice, and security to my new empire. And what it will say is it brought peace, security, and freedom to the Republic with democracy, or something vaguely like that. And then it'll go into where, and then it'll talk about how Luke restarted the Jedi Academy and was training new Jedi with his wife Marjade, because I'm going to bring Marjade in, because I am going back to 2012 and I'm deconstructing everything that Disney did. I'm bringing back all the old, bringing back a lot of the legend stuff that ties in, so that you have that, all these people that spent, like me, spent 10, 15 years devouring everything we could get our hands on with Star Wars related material. So anyway, go into this whole thing, a whole text spiel about, and then so it's going to be like 15 years when Luke, I don't mind the dream sequence where Luke has a vision of Kylo taking over, and in the Knights of Ren and whatever. So it's kind of, it plays into that, and it gives, and so you build this story, and then at the very last it says, but then something happened, or it all changed, or some dramatic ... kind of thing. And this, give you a preview of what the 2 weeks from now will look like, as I wind the show down. So then again, like I said, the tracking shot, because my idea is that I want to establish Kylo Ren as a badass, right? He's a badass, he's formidable, he's tough, he's strong. He's not a whiny kid. So I also think the idea is aging him up a couple of years. Maybe early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. He's been around the block, he's done some shit. He's not a brat. He's not a brat, he's not a whiny punk ass bitch who's just mad at the world because he's emo. He's got some experience, he's got some he's not like old, he's not like Darth Vader old, but he's also not young like Luke was, where he's really naive and stupid and annoying. He's got some age, he's got some grit and some tough. He's been in a scrap or two. And what I want to establish is the fact that Luke lost. The Jedi lost to Kylo in the Knights of Ren. And that what that did was it destabilized, anyway, it hurt the Jedi Order. It caused the Jedi Order to collapse. And Kylo has this army of Sith acolytes. And what happened was he has this army of Sith acolytes. The Knights, not just the Knights of Ren, but the Sith acolytes. That he recruited to form the new order, the First Order, whatever the fuck we're calling it, because who knows? And that he and Snoke and Huxley are all working together very closely. They're like that, kind of like an evil Three Stooges, but not stupid and not goofy Three Stooges. Like really serious, really tough, really making Huxley older again, kind of aging everybody up by about 5 or 10 years to give them a certain je ne sais quoi, if you will. Pardon my French, because I really don't know it. By taking that idea and twisting it and giving these characters some semblance of character. So so again, tracking shot, stars, you burst in, and you track down to the planet, and you see, and this planet is, of course, it's I don't mind Jakku, whatever you're gonna call the planet, I don't really care. But there's two, it's juxtaposing the two worlds, that there's a dark world and a light world. The good and evil of the Force. And Jakku is a very powerful Force planet. And what ends up happening, you see the camera rolls. It starts on this beautiful, gorgeous, lush, green, vibrant. And there's cities and there's flying cars, and it kind of looks like maybe Coruscant, if Coruscant wasn't a city or a city planet. And you as you pan down, the light begins to fade. The light, and slowly it fades and fades and fades and fades and fades. And there's nothing but John Williams' brilliant score. And no dialogue, no sound, no, just the music. The music swells, and as the music swells, the camera pans down all the way, and we see that there's a line, like a very distinct line, separating the light from the dark. And the dark is nothing. You see this, it's not dark, right? Like pitch black. It's like this constant near dusk, where it's never fully dark, it's never fully night, but it's also not fully day. Like the top, like and like how the force is neither fully good nor fully evil, right? The force is just the force, and everyone in the force, everyone with the force, has both good and bad, right? And so we're establishing that, and then there's this brilliant flash, right? And so this is taking place 15. This is right at the end of. This is right after the fall of the Jedi Temple, right? The second Jedi Temple falls to Kylo and the Knights of Ren, and he's about 15 or 16, give or take, and he's already establishing himself as a very powerful, very formidable Sith, Dark Lord of the Sith. I totally lost my wording there. So then the camera, and of course the brilliant, bright flash, and the camera goes out, right? It fades out, and we hear talking. And it's two characters standing there, and it's like literally within seconds of the flash. Where did it come from? I don't know. It wasn't there a minute ago. And you see two characters, and they're whatever. They may be aliens or humans or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And you see them huddling over something, and you can't really tell what it is, but you can hear a faint crying, or almost, like a baby whimpering. Not a wah, like but a like a scared, almost a frightened but curious kind of sound, something like that. And the two characters are arguing about what to do with it. And I think it'd be a great way to introduce some more diverse characters in terms of sexuality, and that kind of thing. Make them gay. I'm okay with that. I think that's could be interesting. So they're both male, they're both female, whatever. Maybe they're one species is alien, one species is human. So it's kind of that twisting of it and making it more interesting. Kind of they rhyme. But they don't. But I mean, if you slant it and you tilt your head and squint your eyes real tight. So anyway, you have these two characters, and they pick it up and they look at it and they're turning it and they hold it up and they're like, I don't know what it is, and what do you want me to do with it? It looks like a baby. And the bundle, they rotate the bundle, and it's just the cutest baby you've ever seen. Just an utterly adorable child. And this child, so like we flash forward, we see a kind of a montage of them, teaching it how to walk and feeding it, and playing with it, and caring for it. And they send her off to, a school. It's a rough school. Of course, they live in the desert, right? And it kind of establishing this, that she doesn't have a normal, a normal childhood, because she doesn't know who her parents are. She thinks these people are her parents, the only people she's ever known. So she's establishing them. So we're establishing them. And then a couple, we watch her grow up, and she gets bigger and taller and stronger. And she shows some affinity for the Force. She levitates a fork, right? She's just sitting there playing with drawing or doodling or doing something innocuous. And all of a sudden something starts levitating, and they look at each other and they look back to her, and fork sits, and the fork's back on the table, like, and she looks up at them like, I don't know. Maybe she's drinking blue milk. I don't know. Some kind of establishing shots that establish that she's she has some kind of abilities. Now again, having the taking away that idea that the Jedi are a myth, that doesn't make any sense. It's only been 50 years. It'd be like, since the fall of since the fall of oh, I never did get into that. We'll hit that next week. And we'll talk about the the Death Star, or 2 weeks from now. I'm sorry. So tune back in for that. The fall of the the rise of Skywalker and the use of Imperial destroyers with Death Star cannons on them. And I did agree with that. It was kind of silly, but I can see what they were going for. So we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when we do the whole breakdown and reworking of the sequel trilogy. Yes, I know it's been 3 years, so what are you gonna do? I wasn't doing this 3 years ago. I'm doing it now, so I'm talking about it now. So anyway, we established it, and then so we see, so we get to know, we're growing up with her, right? In the course of 5 or 10 minutes, right? It's not a real long drawn out process. It's just a couple of minutes to establish that she has some abilities that may not be normal, natural. They may be extra, not necessarily that they're abnormal, but they're extra. And she's a very extra child. Very headstrong, very much, I know what I'm doing, I know what's going on, and very, very both book smart and street smart. She can handle herself in a fight. We see her parents teaching her some basic fighting skills, and we establish the fact that she's um a smart kid, a quick learner, a quick study. So it makes sense that she has abilities that she can look at something and figure it out without having to really work at it. Whereas, establishing, cutting out that Mary Sue aspect, because she has shown the ability to do these things, right? So then we stop with 8 years, at 8 years old is when the montage ends, and we're in her room, right? And it's getting late, but it's not dark, but it's dimming, because it never quite gets dark enough to be dark. And you'll find out later on that the reason that it never quite gets dark is because the light side of the Force keeps the darkness at bay, but yet it can't extinguish the darkness, because the darkness resides in everyone, and it only takes a simple push to push them over the edge. Okay, so what we have there is it. So after the fall of the, so we have them. We can hear shouting, an angry conversation, maybe not arguing, but an aggressive conversation, as it were. So we stand down. Then so she's listening. So she's reading a book, or she's writing, or she's looking. She's reading She's reading HoloNet, or watching a HoloNet show, whatever. Something that any normal kid would be doing when they're a kid. And so what we establish, she's young, she's a kid, and she's been going to school, so she's got some experience with the regular, and we can hear them arguing and debating and discussing what they're going to do. And there's something along the lines of, they got a call and they got to go. Well, we've got this, we can't, and they go back and forth like that for several minutes, and you can hear banging and chairs moving, and you're saying, no, we can't leave, and they're packing their, you can hear something going on. And she gets up, and she, sleepily, because, pretending to be asleep, oh, guys, what's going on? And like, oh, nothing, honey. We're just trying to figure some things out. I don't know, how to tell you this, but we may have to go away for a while. Go away? Yes, yes. We're We've been called to another world, whatever, blah blah blah. So we're establishing that as their their motivation for leaving the planet. It's not just some random, out of the blue, no explanation to what happened, right? So what they have is that's when they take her to the junk dealer, and they, we're gonna establish that they have a relationship with the junk dealer through dialogue, not through just simple dialogue. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Oh, little Ray. And um and that will be the introduction of her name. And so he'll then the junk dealer will look at her. Oh, you've grown so big. And she'll be like, yeah, I know, blah blah blah. And he'll be like, well, Ray, can you watch the store for a minute? I need to talk to your folks. And she'll be like, okay. And she'll sit on this. She'll get behind the counter all proud, like she's a big shot, and I get to watch the store, like any little kid who's given a responsibility might. And so what that will do is it'll establish her as being willing to take responsibility and step up and be proud. And they'll go back in the back room, and we'll they'll all be sitting around his, he'll be sat at his desk, and they'll sit, one on each side. And I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna put him here, and then take this one and put him there, so I can do a sweeping shot, right? I come in from behind, focus camera here, pan the camera, back out, so I can get a wide shot, and focus in on the center of the desk, tilt here, so that I can do shots that where I'm, as each character. So this character explains what's going on. This character, then the junk dealer takes that, nods or has dialogue, either one, whatever we want to do. Then the camera looks this way as we're trying. So it's the junk dealer. Not only is the audience, we're wanting to know what the other person thinks. So it's the junk dealer, not drug dealer, junk dealer. So then the camera turns, and it's not like that, but it's more of a subtle sweeping turn to look at the other character. And then well, we have no choice, blah blah blah, establishing conversation. And it turns back, and it's just, and pulls back, because I want to get all three of them in the shot for this. We were hoping you would be able to watch her for a little while. And he's like, yeah, I can do that for you guys. We've been friends for years, and you don't need a long, drawn out explanation on why they've been friends for years. It's just that they've been friends for years. So then the camera pulls back, and you don't have to establish everything. Things can happen off screen. Okay, CinemaSins? Things can happen off screen. And if I can figure out how to share videos, we may watch some of their CinemaSins and critique their content at the So when you're establishing relationships between characters and creating bonds. Okay, so then they come back out, and everybody. So this is everyone rises at he's up, then he's up, then he's up, and they all turn to walk out of the room, and the camera spins this way as everyone goes to walk out the door, so that we can walk out with them. And they come back out, and Ray's playing on the desk, and she's pushing buttons on the calculator, or in the cash register, whatever. Ding 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 ding. And she looks up, and she goes, "Oh, hey guys, mom, dad, Uncle Timmy, whatever, Uncle Junk Dealer, whatever his name was." And so then it establishes they all know each other, and we're gonna go over by about 20 minutes here. So because I'm gonna keep going, because I've got a lot to say about this. and I will do a full stream on the other 2 episodes in a couple of weeks, because like I said, I'm going to do the Fantastic Four next week, and it's going to be kind of like this. So then the camera pulls back, and it sweeps across the room, and it sweeps around behind Ray. So it goes, and it spins back so that we can see Ray's perspective, and she can see the expressions on their face, and they're rather grim. And so then it shows her with her, saying good, they tell her they gotta go away, and they give him some money, because I'm establishing things that have happened in the other movies that she sees that happen, and that plays into what Kylo Ren says later, where they saw and to conflict with her, what she's been, these 2 people that really cared about her, really loved her, really were dedicated to her and her upbringing, disappeared with no reason, no explanation, and gave him money. And so, of course, we can also establish the fact maybe they have a drinking problem, maybe they have a gambling problem, maybe they've been fighting for years. We can do that through sounds and sights and conversations that don't have to all take place, that don't have to have a full 20-minute dedicated scene of people standing and talking. Again, quick shots, quick to the action, quick to the next segment. So then you establish that, and we establish the fact that they're in, that, okay, so then you see that scene in the original version where you see her screaming, and I want to make this guy seem like he's a good guy, like he's going to care about her. And so he gets down on one knee, and he's talking to her. He's telling her that it's going to be okay. They'll be back. They got to take care of something for their employer, who we'll find out later is the new galactic the new Galactic Republic, kind of a blending of both old and new. So with that established and out of the way, we flash forward 8 years. And it's that same scene where she's playing in the dirt and she's scrounging. And we realize that she's scrawny. She's very thin. Skinny is the word I was looking for. She's very thin. She's very, her hair is dirty. Her clothes are dirty. She's dirt. She's got dirt on her arms. Not like she hasn't bathed in weeks, but like she actually works outside. She's got a bit of a tan going on. She's a junker, and we see that she's scrappy though. She gets into an argument with a junk dealer or a scrapper. She's down at the scrapyard. She's looking to make a score, and not heroin though, anything but heroin. She's looking to get some goods, because there's always people, because that's part of what the economy is, that people are constantly leaving junk in Jakku, because it's a bad place in the desert. The desert's a horrible place. The good people don't come down here. People with things to get rid of for no good reason leave their junk down here. So we established that. She has this bit of an argument, and the gentleman takes, the character she's arguing with, I'm thinking it's a guy, takes a swing, and just for a brief second, she can see kind of mirroring that Darth Bane concept in Path of Destruction, where he first learns that he understands that he has precognition, and that he can see things just a second before they happen. So he loads up a punch and he goes, and it slows down ever so briefly. And so it goes so he's like this, and it slows down, obviously, so it would look like to a normal person, boom, but to her it looks like boom. And so he doesn't realize that so it doesn't register that she stepped out of the way. So he goes like boom, and she leans back, And just about the time she leans back, she sticks out her foot, and he steps forward, and bam, down he goes, right? And we established that she's got a little bit of moxie. And she's like, I need this. And he's like, he scrambles back to his feet, and he's like, you won't, whatever, some tough guy line. You won't get it without a fight or some nonsense. And so he goes to throw an uppercut or, throw another punch, and he goes like, and she leans back out of the way again, and he misses wildly, and she shoves him to the ground, right? But she doesn't realize she's using the force. She doesn't realize she has abilities yet, right? She shoves him, and he goes flying backwards. He's like 10 foot, and he comes up spitting dirt, and he comes charging at her, right? And she doesn't realize what's going on, right? But we can establish that she has some kind of precognition, that she has some skills that she's not fully aware of. And again, as he is going by, she's like, bam, and drops him with one punch, and he goes down, he crumples in a heap, and he's like, and she snatches the part, and she runs off. And even better yet, it's not a part, it's the droid, it's BB-8, right? She snatches BB-8 up, who's in ball form, right? And she snatches him up and runs back to the junk dealer shop. Again, mirroring the events of older movies that have already been in the series. She opens him up, and she finds a message from Princess Leia, or Han Solo, or Luke Skywalker, Admiral Akbar, because he didn't get Akbar. Yeah, I like that. And she about the First Order. We established the First Order. We can actually establish the First Order, who they are, what they are, how they are, and Kylo Ren. And we see that that scene of Poe where he ends up getting captured. We don't actually see that in the movie. That all happens from holo recordings by BB-8, right? So we're taking that and we're using that to show Rey the outside world, right? We established that there's another world out there that's not just that there's more to the world than just Jakku, right? And so anyway, so she ends up being she sees the cruelty of the first Order. Is that what they're called? I want to call them the New Order, because the First Order's stupid. Yeah, the First Order. That name is going to change because that sucks. The First Order sucks. Okay, so it's the New Order. My world. So the New Order gets established the cruelty of Kylo Ren, who refuses to take on a Sith title, right? So he's Kylo Ren. He's and we established that and you see the Knights of Ren, and you see the destruction that they're carrying out, and what's happening there, and all of that. And with that, you can cut there, and then you can go to Poe or Finn. You can go to Finn sneaking around the Starkiller base, right? So we haven't met Finn yet, so we don't know who he is, and he hasn't had that scene where he's been traumatized. He actually, this is where he bumps into Captain Phasma for the first time, and he confesses he's conflicted, right? Tells her, I don't know if I really want to do this anymore. And she tells him to take off his helmet, right? She looks him in the eye and she says, if you're conflicted, go down to the med bay, talk to one of the docs down there. We'll get you sorted out. He says thank you, and they part. That's the only interaction that they have. It's a very short, brief, boom, hits you with it. You see this cool character, you get to meet this cool character. You establish that Finn is conflicted, right? He doesn't know if he really wants to serve the New Order anymore. And so then he's walking. He turns and then he turns down he walk. The camera's looking kind of in between. So it's not like a full. It's like if the character's here and the two characters are here like this. It's a side shot. It's a wide shot, side shot. You get both faces, and you have the dark and light again. That motif, that dark and light. Good and evil. The force, the light and the dark, the balance between the two. You see the shadows. The left side of his face is in shadow, while the right side of his face is brightly lit. And you can't really see Captain Phasma's face. All you can see is the back of her helmet, or maybe even the side, because it's on that angle. And he says, he thanks her for her concern. And you see, because you've already seen the cruelty of the First Order or New Order. You've seen that cruelty. You've seen that brutality, the carelessness, the way they throw lives away carelessly. We've established that in the BB-8 scene with Rey. Again, that idea that there's always good and evil. There's good and evil in everyone, and it's our choices that define who we are, not our innate nature. We're good and evil, the duality of man, the two faces, the one we show the public and the one we have in private. So he goes down to the med bay, and on his way past the med bay, he sees the prisoners, right? The people that were captured in the raid. And you have a flashback of him in the out on the battlefield. And you see him partaking in the battle. And he shoots one of the rebels, and and you see them, and then he cuts, and he blasts another one in the new Galactic Republic soldiers wearing new Galactic uniforms, new Galactic Republic uniforms, actual established, a legitimate military force, not some ragtag bench of bullshit. So he takes a shot, and he takes another one, and he sees someone, and he sees one of his comrades on the ground, blaster, just about to get popped, and he pops the guy in the face and his head, and you don't see that, but you see his face, right? You hear the blaster shot, you see his face, you hear the blaster shot, and it flips back to Finn, and you can see behind the helmet. You can feel it, right? It's a feeling. It's that the ability to emote without emoting, right? That the ability for an actor to convey things without actually conveying things. You can see it in the way his head moves down, and you see the camera pans over, and just as much as there was a guy taking one of the stormtroopers taking a shot, getting shot, you see another stormtrooper just mowing down civilians, just and you see him standing. He's like right, and you see this, and you see another character on the ground, right, and he just walks over, looks down at him, raises his blaster, and it flips back to Poe or Finn. I'm sorry, excuse me, Finn, and you hear the blaster fire, and then it snaps back to reality, and he gathers himself up, and he walks down to the med bay, right? And he's like, "Hey, I need to see someone. I need to talk to somebody about what's going on in my brain." And he talks, and they talk for a couple minutes, on screen, couple minutes. It could be like an hour off screen, but they talk, and he tells them about what he saw and what he's feeling, what he's thinking, and the doc tells him that there's no room for that in the New Order. And he's like, and he's thinking about it, and he oh well, I suppose you're right, something like that. And you see him sitting on his, he walks, he walks out of the room, and and then you follow him back to his quarters, and the whole time he's his helmet's off, and you can see him, thinking and processing and trying to figure things out, and when he gets back to his bunk, he sits, he uses a sigh and sits down on it, and you can see him looking at something, a picture or whatever, and it pans over his shoulder, and you see his unit, and everybody's got their helmets off, taking a unit picture like you'd see in any other military, and it zooms in, and you see him standing next to someone, and of course it's Captain Phasma, but she's not. She's just in regular stormtrooper armor. She hasn't gotten the silver armor yet. And so then establishing that the fact that he's conflicted, and again that light and shadow, and this time you see it on her face, right? Not knowing who she is, not knowing that she's Captain Phasma, not knowing that she's the character that you saw in the hallway, not but 5 minutes ago. You see him, and he swings into bed, and he pulls the covers over himself, and he goes to sleep. Then from there, we go to the interrogation scene where Poe is trying to extract Kylo is trying to extract information from Herptiderp. Poe. And he's like, it'll never work, blah blah blah, and they have that whole scene. And again, as I close this out for today, I'm gonna leave you on that cliffhanger there. So if you want to know the rest of the story, tune in next week, and I'll probably recap this before we get started with the rest of it. But I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate you hanging out with me for a couple hours here on a Thursday night. Again, this has been Adam Mangold with the Nerd Stream. Not to belabor the point, but to belabor the point. Episode 1, Season 1, Episode 1. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed putting it on. Let me know in the comment section what you liked, what you didn't like. Where did I go wrong? What did I get right? I got a couple more minutes before I get out of here. I want to thank everyone on the front lines of COVID, fighting the good fight. We're looking to knock it out here pretty quick. A couple more weeks, and we should be able to get it under control. So hopefully we'll be able to go back to the cinemas and go to concerts here soon. And our favorite shows will be back in their normal capacity with their regular complement of actors. And I apologize for my haggard look, but it's been a long week, and just another long week ahead of me. But again, I thank you for coming out, hanging out, watching the show. I'll be sharing it out there. So if you enjoyed it, share it as well. It's been good fun. Long-winded as always, because that's what I do. Again, this is a nerd stream, so any nerdy topics, any nerd things you want to put out there for me to react to, send me a message either on Facebook or email me. If you don't have my email, I'm going to establish an email for business emails here soon, so I'll put that in the description once I have one of those available. So if you want to send me something, send me an email, a comment. If you want to pitch an idea, feel free to pitch me an idea. Here or anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. Again, thank you all for coming out. To our law enforcement, firefighters, police, military, everybody, stay safe and keep fighting the good fight. Y'all have a good night.